Jessica, you're boring.
I wouldn't talk, Ryan.
All right, today's episode, we're going to talk about being boring and how it's going to pretty much kill your marketing and your presence on social media.
Yes. And speaking of boring, if you can't tell, there's like a smoke thing in the background for all of you YouTubers, not just the podcasters. Ryan had to have a smoke machine.
A fog machine.
Because he actually
The
is just never
ambiance.
boring, I guess.
Am I never boring?
Well, I guess.
It's never dull.
It's never dull.
You never know what the heck
Yeah,
I'm
I guess
do.
we're kind of boring. But so the whole point of this is I was listening to a podcast as Lori Harder, and she was talking about engagement and said, maybe you're just boring. And I'm like, shit, I am boring. I have been a lot like the last year. And that has changed the conversations that I've had with other people.
Yeah.
And so even if you're not using it as a social aspect, it really does change your life a lot when you try to get yourself out of your comfort zone and be less boring.
Right. Well, just like, okay, so back here, you probably can't see it. There's a huge green screen that pops up. And like we should have totally filmed me trying to open this thing that's like, it was like 10 feet long.
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to pull it out and I'm like using my foot cramped up and I'm like, oh, like
Yeah.
the actual thing is not exciting.
No.
But like the realness that was happening and just me, who I am.
And your commentary along the way.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, my foot, my cramping. Like, and then I start thinking about it, I'm like, oh, I need to start like documenting these things. But the hard thing is you don't know when things are going to happen.
Yes. Yeah, because if you're planning it out, then it's kind of weird. It's not.
It's almost like we
authentic.
just need to be more aware
And
of
we're
each
horrible
other
actors.
when we're doing stuff and just like record each other like candidly without us knowing. So
Yeah.
there's no like, what would you say? Like you're not glamming it up or hamming it up for the camera. You're just being you.
Yeah,
We need to do that more.
I think we do. But I mean, I think one of the problems that I have is I'm a mom of 3 kids and my life is pretty boring. And so I don't think to post those things all of the time. But, you know, we do go out and have fun and do things. And then we don't even think about taking videos or pictures of that either.
Right.
So sharing your life with other people, doing things that aren't boring, it actually does. You know, when we were doing things more for social media, like even today, we went to go take a picture down by the harbor.
We should have documented
We
it.
should have documented it. It was windy
It was just
as
so
hell.
cold.
It was so cold.
It was a
like
tit
30
nipply out
degrees.
there.
The birds couldn't even fly straight because
No, you're like, look, those birds are
they're, like,
struggling.
just all over the place. It would have been hilarious, but like we didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
But because we went there to shoot a picture, we were getting out of our normal comfort zone.
Right.
And just that in itself was a little adventure for the day.
So yeah, so us making this isn't necessary to only call people out because we're calling ourselves out.
We're
here.
calling ourselves out. We've been extremely boring this last year, especially with all the stuff that we've been through. And
Which we'll document soon.
yes. And so it's just a reminder to ourselves, like it was when she said that, it was kind of like a bitch slap. I was like, oh man, yeah, I'm boring.
But like some of the stuff that we're doing in the experience, like when you look at it in the moment, you're just like, whatever, but you're like, that would probably be quite funny, especially compared to like everything else that I do.
Yeah.
And putting that realness out there goes a long way with how fake people are on social media.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the biggest thing is if you are boring, find some of those things that just make you interesting as a person.
Well, and we were talking about it in our group the other day, that when you're only putting out like mortgage content,
Yeah.
that's all that you're ever putting out, you're not going to have a lot of followers because it's boring and you're going to get in that algorithm. And I think one of the keys to our success with social media is that we were doing fun things, and that was having, we'd have a lot of engagement from that. And then people are seeing the mortgage things on the side and we stay top of mind. But we were doing all kinds of fun things at that point. It
Right.
was, we had more fun in our lives going out, and you were bike riding and all of your shenanigans.
If you look at almost any niche, the most like famous or well-known people usually have like a thing.
Mhm.
And so, they might be funny, or they might be artsy, or they might do music. Like, like not a specific one is coming to mind, but like I watch a lot of YouTube, and it's usually the ones that have like an interesting character about them makes me want to come back. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so Call of Duty. Anyone that plays video games, Call of Duty's been around forever. I miss the old school days when I used to just put in a dip, grab a 12-pack, and just play games for like
those were the days.
8 hours in college, right? I miss those days. And it was like, it wasn't as sweaty. You just went on with your friends. You had a group of friends. You went on there. Sometimes you crushed some kids. Sometimes you didn't. I'm going on a huge tangent
I don't even know
here.
what sweaty means.
Oh, your hands are sweating because you're trying so hard. Try hard. Come on, the kids teach you this stuff. Okay. Huge tangent. Back to the point. So basically, I suck at the game now. I can't even play it. It makes me want to just throw my controller against the wall because these kids are so sweaty. And long story short, there's this guy. I watch him playing the game. He puts one video up a day, not because of the game or I want to learn anything, because he's so damn funny.
Like his commentary.
His commentary. Like he goes in and there's always like a topic of the day. And he's like, all right, we got this gun. We're going to try to make it work. It's a weird thing. It's going to suck. And then he goes in and he usually gets crushed. And then he's pissed off and he's like, and he gets all mad. And then he just like watches, like he usually dies like halfway through the game. And then he just watches like once you die, it shows like the next guy that killed you. And then when he dies, the next guy, he just watches it to the end and he just commentates on it.
Yeah.
And he's from Wisconsin and he's just hilarious. And I watch him solely because of him.
Yes.
Not the game, nothing like that. So if you can think about what makes you unique and special and fold that in to mortgage, like that's the secret sauce.
What makes you unique and special, Ryan?
Well, based off of you, it's that my crazy brain, my nerdiness.
Your nerdiness.
And I think it's just like the hardest part.
You're so extra.
Yeah. The hardest part is like you just have to constantly just be you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a want or a need to please for a lot of us, including myself. And so I'll start to adjust me. And then I have to catch myself and say, I'm not being true to myself. Like I have to constantly always like pull in the reins and like look and be like, is this me? Like,
I think that's the biggest, issue that I have with social media, because I definitely know how to play the game, but then I always get stuck in this weird space of, am I being authentic? Like, when you're posing for pictures and you have certain outfits on, it just feels fake.
Yeah.
And so, but you're still trying to get your message out. So I go back and forth on like, am I doing this? You're doing it for social media, but that's part of our job. So, but I feel like I'm in a constant thing of authenticity I'm just
going to just really start leaning into like, if I would say it to my friends, I'm just going to say it. If I want to make a fart joke, I'm going to make a fart joke. And if it makes you cringe, that's okay but I make you cringe all the time. But that's what makes me. And my friends that love me for me, they like it because I'll just randomly splurt out something that's just outrageous.
Yeah, but then there's a whole thing like, okay, what if you're like a diehard political, person on one side and you're polarizing? So
that's okay. I mean, if that's what you want to lean into and you're going to go after just that market and that's your thing and you are passionate about it, then I think it's worth it. But if it's just something you do because you like to rile people up, but you're not really passionate, is it worth it? I don't know. But there are certain things you can't take back. That's the trouble with it.
That is the trouble with it.
Right? And so if you are going to go down that road, you have to own it forever. So let's take Trump. Trump says outrageous things.
Yes.
Right? But now you don't expect him to be like, uppity and like perfect. He just goes, yeah, fuck off.
Yeah.
And that's his thing. And he can get away with it. Now, if somebody like Biden started acting like that, he would lose his whole audience. You can't switch,
yes.
Right? So it's like, if you choose that better be you and who you like. I truly believe that's him. Like we saw him on TV. Mm-hmm. That's just who he is. And he decided he wasn't going to play any game or put on any front. He's like, grab her by the, what?
Okay.
that's his thing.
So what if you have somebody, who's we're pretty loud people. We just naturally are loud. We're naturally, we will win at all costs. Like it's not necessarily a good thing. But what about people that are more mild and timid and they're just quiet, and how do they put themselves out there and not be boring?
Well, maybe it's the loving character that people are attracted to. Some people need that in their life. Like it's like if you're quiet and meek and just loving and that it just exudes from you, there's going to be people that just like, oh, it's like a refreshing part of my day to like listen to them. So like, what if part of it was you start off everything with a nice like motivational quote that just says, hey, every morning I get up and I read a new quote because, and this is what I read to myself, so I'm going to read it to you. If that's your thing, if that's what you do, then share it. And then people will follow you for that. And then you can finish off with a topic, or maybe today you don't. Like maybe every day they come to you for your quote. Some days you talk about mortgage. Some days you talk about life. Some days you talk about nothing, and just like, hey, nothing's news going on today. I'm just happy to share that motivational quote with you. I'll see you tomorrow.
I wish I could be that kind of a person.
I know.
That would be great. Maybe I need, hey, any of you people that want to do that, I need something like that in my life.
But if somebody was truly like that and just very quiet and just caring and maybe a little meek or whatever you want to say, but then that's the way they presented themselves and they brought some value. And the whole point of people coming back was for that little piece of value, but some of them will stick for the mortgage content or your life.
Yep.
Some will come, listen to your thing, and then tune out. They're just like, oh, I just wanted to come for that. But then over time, people will stay and they want to hear your stories. And like you talk about how you've helped people. You talk about maybe some missionary stuff you're doing, some local charity work. And then you talk about how you help people get into a home, how you change somebody's life. Like there's so many ways you could work this.
You don't have to be loud.
No.
To be entertaining.
You just have to be you and then find a hook, like something that keeps them coming back. So think of like a game show. Mm-hmm. Same shit over and over and over with just a tiny little spin. But like The Price is Right. I loved waking up and watching The Price is Right.
You've been watching that for what, 30 years or something it's been on? Probably more than that.
So you would get up and you're like, oh, I get to watch The Price is Right. And like, even if it was on in the background, you always would come back to it.
Yeah.
So even we have to figure out like, what's our Price is Right? Like, what are we going to bring as value to the table every single day to where strangers are going to want to come back to experience us, our personality, and whatever that thing of value that we bring. And then we sprinkle in whatever we want to sprinkle in on top of that piece of value. Yeah.
I have no idea what mine is still. I have no idea.
Let's work on it.
I mean, I know what gets it done, but how much of
maybe that is the hook
how much
right
of
now.
that is me marketing versus how much of that is me showing up authentically? Like, I don't even know.
Well, you'll just have to work on it. And maybe that's what people should follow us on social media to see what we end up doing.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Because we don't even know yet. Yeah. That's what makes it fun, exciting.
Well, I think with everything that's happened the last few years, we're not the same people that we were then. And then we live in a different state where there's different opportunities. There's different things to do. Yeah. So we're kind of just different people altogether, still finding our way. I think we're still trying to find our way.
This year was a very like growth year, like trying to just figure out new things. Like we just wanted change. You wanted to be out of Arizona for a long time.
Yep.
And when you go through a massive amount of change, sometimes you get a little lost. Doesn't matter how grounded or what experienced you think you are.
Yeah.
We all can have a little bit of that, and that's okay. But it's always fighting to get back on the trail.
Yeah.
I think
I have a lot of plans, but it is like talking about social media. And I think that in this last year, I've really wanted to focus on that authenticity. And I've always shown up as myself, but less sales, more, this is what's going on. I don't know, more education.
Yeah.
It's like a rebrand.
Well, it's going to be interesting. So I think you should follow us, see what we end up doing. I think we're going to both start doing some sort of daily thing that we put out into the world.
Yes.
That's true to us. And
I already have mine picked out. I'm really excited about it, actually. I don't even think I've told you about it.
So make sure you follow and you'll get to see like what we do. We're going to brainstorm on this. And the whole recap is don't be boring. And if you are boring, then find something of value with your personality where if the right people see it, they're going to follow you every single day. And that's what we are getting from this. I actually got a lot of value just talking this out with you. So I'm excited to...
I'm like really excited because I just like it like clicked and I know what I'm doing.
Woo! All right. I can't wait to hear it too. So if you want any help with marketing, we have a bunch of free tools at thelocode.com. So go and check that out. And there's a bunch of other cool things that we're launching soon. So thanks for listening or watching this episode and we'll see you on the next one.